In an industry stuffed with marketing bullshit, empty promises, and shiny-suited liars, one woman's had enough. She knows what it's like to have the wrong clients, no money, and no time for fun. But she also knows how to fix it. And on the Business for Superheroes show, she promises to tell the down and dirty truth about business, sales, and running away with the circus. Here's your host, Vicky Fraser.
And welcome to the Business for Superheroes show. I'm Vicky Fraser, and this week I've mostly been swearing at Skype. No, this week I am coming into your ears with my partner in crime, James Daniel, who is the Fresh Prince of Direct Mail. Welcome, James.
Hi, Vicky. That's a lovely title. Great to be here.
James is one of the best direct mail copywriters I've ever met, and he's also written a book with a great title, which I tried really hard to hate him for because it's just a great title, and it's called "Do You Talk Like This at Home?" And I was like, I so wish I'd written that book.
Yeah, well, it was given to me on a plate, that title, to be honest with you. This guy I used to work with who used to just talk in corporate speak all the time. And, I mentioned some policy or other to him, and he said, oh, yeah, well, I endorse that. And I said to him, do you talk like that at home? You know, when your mum says, do you want spaghetti hoops for tea? Do you say to her, yes, I endorse that? Or do you just say, yum, that sounds good to me, you know? And a book was born.
That's just completely awesome. Yeah, I endorse these spaghetti hoops. That's amazing. So that's a really good point, actually. And you know, let's drift off onto that for a moment. Because do you find that that's one of the biggest problems with the clients that you work for, is that they just talk bollocks?
I'll answer that with caution, just in case any of them are listening. But an awful lot of them do. Like, I found particularly in the early days when I was starting out, because obviously, you know, I've been doing this now for about 12 years. I've established my own sort of tone of voice, so people, when they come to my website, they see that there's something, I suppose, quite idiosyncratic, and I talk a lot in my emails and things about, look, you know, corporate speak is evil. So now I would say clients come to me knowing that I'm not going to write corporate waffle, but it still happens occasionally where they, you know, a couple of years ago, I did some work through an agency, and the client said, no, this is too informal. It needs to be written in international business language. So I had to have a conversation with them. Look, you are aware that these people that you're talking to, you know, they're all just shaved monkeys like the rest of us. You know, that they might be sat behind a big desk wearing a sharp suit, but they still go home and, you know, they'll eat pie and chips for tea, and they'll watch Ant and Dec, and they'll blow off on the sofa and pick their nose. You know, they're as ordinary as everybody else. You know, and they still make decisions emotionally, and they still respond to the warmth of human contact and human language the same way that we all do. You know, talk to them not in the way that they think you should talk at work, but in the way they actually talk when they're at home in their natural selves, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's one of my biggest bugbears is when you kind of go onto a company's website and it's all like, we were established in 1900 and we endorse this, and it's just like, fuck off, really?
It's ridiculous.
And by the way, go and have a look at, listeners, go and have a look at your website, and if you say stuff like that, be ashamed of yourself.
Be very ashamed. I would say that, you know, for any copywriter, it's a conversation you need to have right at the beginning of the relationship. You know, just say, you know, look, it's been tested many times. It's been proven that, you know, the conversational approach is always what works best. And I would say be that bold about it as to say, if you insist on writing this in a corporate way, don't hire me. You know, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, because apart from anything else, it's really boring, and it's really difficult to write corporate speak as well, because you have to kind of put this effort into becoming some kind of a weird robot.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I couldn't do it. You know, I would be the last copywriter alive that you should hire if you're looking for that. In fact, you shouldn't hire a copywriter, because no decent copywriter is capable of doing corporate speak.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of shit copywriters out there, though, James.
Yeah, I've kind of noticed.
Okay, anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, before I get shitograms through the mail, today we are talking about direct mail and why you should be using it in your business and how you can get the best ROI from it, because you've been doing this for many years, haven't you, James? So tell people why they should be using direct mail.
There's a quote from Dan Kennedy that I'd like to bring in here. He said, "It's your chance to seduce a virgin." Yes. And what he was talking about there is, the debate is all around search these days. People say, well, you don't have to do anything in your marketing other than use Google AdWords and Bing ads because people are out there already searching for what they want. So just, obviously there's SEO as well, but that's a load of old pants. But, if you can show up in Google and say, yes, I've got that thing you're looking for, then that's all you need. You'll get all the business you want. And, Dan Kennedy made a vital point, which is you're missing the chance to seduce a virgin, meaning before the customer actually steps up and says, yes, this is what I want, you've got the chance to get in there before everybody else. Because if you wait until they're searching, then everybody is clamoring for their business. If you get in there first, and you can awaken the need for them, start showing them what's possible. Hey, did you know, if you've got this problem, this opportunity exists, which you can do through direct mail, then you get in there first. You're the only one having that conversation with them. And I think there's another dimension to that as well. When somebody searches for something, they have in their mind what it is they want. But when you send a sales letter to them, then you can focus on the problem and shape the solution in the way that you want to shape it. So you don't have to deal with their existing prejudice as to what that solution looks like when you're getting into the conversation early, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, totally. So it's almost like it's all about not competing with a bunch of people who are just offering base stuff, isn't it? And that's the other bonus, I think, to direct mail. While everybody else is clamoring on the internet for your online attention, you're going to be the only one in their actual physical hands.
Absolutely. There's a great thing that goes around the internet, a sort of little cartoon of 1996. Somebody complaining that they got so much junk mail and getting excited that they've got an email, and in 2017 it's just completely the other way around. That's flipped. Oh no, I've got more emails. Oh wow, how exciting! I got something in the post. It's so much easier to get attention on somebody's doormat these days than it was many years ago.
It is, yeah. And the other thing I was going to ask is, do you think any company can use it? Because I know there's going to be like a bunch of people listening to this who are like, oh, but my business is different. It's just like, so do you reckon any company can use it?
I guess in theory there may be a company out there that can't, but I've never found one. We all sell to human beings, and human beings are influenced in the same way, regardless of what you're selling. Really, it comes down to how well you can identify your prospects, because the list is the most important thing by far. And every copywriter that I know, with a few exceptions like yourself and John McCulloch and a few others, will tell you that the copy is the most important thing. But of course, those who actually know about this stuff will realize that the copy is way down the list. And it's the list of people that you're going to and the offer that you make them and the timing of it. All of that matters more than the actual copy. The list itself, if you can identify a list of prospects of people who have the propensity to want what you're selling and who have the means to afford it and who have a real emotional need, a real sort of pain and some urgency about it, if you can identify that list, then yes, any business can use it. So I think the first question is, how well can you identify a list? And remember, you don't just use it for prospects. It's a very good way for upselling to your existing customers to get them into a bigger sale or a continuity package. So, I personally have never found a business that can't make use of that.
Yeah, you're quite right about the list. And I just wanted to I've just picked up a piece of direct mail that came through my door this morning that I looked at. It's not even addressed to me, so even if you think that you don't have like the actual names and addresses of people, that doesn't always matter, because the thing that came through my door today has at the top, it's got really cute little bacteria pictures on it as well, but the news, the headline is important news for septic tank owners. I am a septic tank owner, and what they've done, and these guys are based down in Devon. So what they've done is obviously got somebody to look at postcodes and likelihood of people being on septic tanks rather than mains drainage, and obviously that's going to be little rural villages like us. Yeah. And they've just put together actually a really fucking good direct mail piece that I'm gonna keep and dissect for people. So even if you think that I haven't actually got a list of names and addresses, you don't need one. You can be smart about this stuff.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think that if you're doing a sort of blanket door-to-door mailing where it's just, look, you're a householder, therefore I want you to read this, then I think that, that's a very good way to go broke very fast. But if they've targeted it very carefully by, whether it's you live in this rural area, so you might have a septic tank, or we've spied on you on Google Earth, or whatever it is, when you've got some kind of, some level of targeting in there, then yes, you can sometimes forgo names and addresses, yeah.
Yeah, this is quite a good one. It's worked on me because I'm scared of my septic tank right now. So it's probably more information than most people.
Sorry, go on about the septic tank before I say that.
No, that's because that's probably more information than most people need. So. We're
not going to have that. Sorry. Okay. It does remind me of there's a famous campaign that a car dealer did. You may have seen a video of this online. They were trying to sell a high-end car, so they identified the sort of residential areas of the sort of people who would buy it, and they drove the car around and they parked it on empty driveways. And each driveway they parked it on, they took a photo of the house, and then they printed off a mail piece they had in the back of a van that was driving around with them. They had a sort of full setup there, with printer and so on. They printed off the photo, put it into a mail piece, and put it through the door, so that the householder gets home and they see this mail piece which has got a photo of this amazing car on their driveway. And I have no idea what the results were of that promotion, but you can imagine if they targeted the right areas, they're appealing directly to somebody's vanity. It's a pretty smart strategy.
It is, and when you're selling something that high ticket as well, because again, I can hear the howls of protest of people saying, "Oh, how much will that cost?" It's like, well, if you're looking at a $120,000 car, you only need to sell one of them because your setup is not going to cost anything like that much.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, you can easily afford to spend 5-10% of your fee or your sales price, or certainly of your profit, to get the sale. So. It's not, the numbers are not as scary as they first appear. It's often been said that if you're willing to outspend your rivals and actually scare them, with what you're spending, then you can just leave them standing.
Yeah, exactly. So to people who are like, oh, well, that's all very well for you to say, but I'm on a tight budget and I can't afford to do this because direct mail is expensive and blah, blah, blah excuse. What would you say to those people?
If you sell something that's, low margin, perhaps you sell on price and so on, then it does become a more difficult thing for you. But there's a very simple answer to that, which is get out of that business and go into a more profitable business. Or find a higher end item that you can sell. Whatever your main product is, then you can easily create a high ticket version of it. A premium version where let's say if you're a garage and you do sort of MOTs. Well, there's nothing to stop you from having a premium MOT where, you pick up the car, you give them a luxury car to use for the day, to drive around in, you valet it and, you put a full tank of petrol in there before you hand it back and so on, so you go that much further with the package, and there will be an element of your list that will want to take that package, and it costs you nothing to promote it. If you give the choice of you can have this bog standard or you can have the amazing thing, a percentage will take the amazing thing. You've got much more margin to cover the cost of the mailing. It's kind of giving yourself a free pay rise.
Yeah, and that, by the way, that garage idea, I've touted a similar idea to people before and been like, you should totally do this because I am exactly that fucking person, because one of the things I hate most, and I'm about to have a massive temper tantrum about it again because my car is due for its MOT next week, I think. It's like, It's such a pain in the fucking arse. I hate it. I've got to schlep all the way to a garage. I've got to doss around for however long while some monkey looks at my car. And, it's just a pain in the arse. I would very happily pay a monthly fee to a garage who would take care of my annual service, the MOT. They would give me a courtesy car. They would, valet it every now and then. I would happily pay a monthly fee for that. And it's like, I have never seen a garage that offers that, ever.
And it's not just the multimillionaires that will do that. It's anybody who is cash rich, time poor, or even cash okay and time poor, will still do that.
Yeah,
I hate using words
absolutely.
because it betrays my Welsh accent, but yeah.
If there are any garage owners or mechanics listening to this, for fuck's sake, start offering that service, because there are people out there who will bite your hand off, and I'm one of them. If you're local to Herefordshire, then get on with it, because, your first customer is sitting right here in the dingle waiting.
Absolutely, yeah. But it's
they won't, though, because they haven't got the balls.
Business, and it costs you nothing to position it. That's the thing to remember. Just put it side by side alongside your main offer.
Yeah. The thing is, though, James, most people won't do it because they haven't got the balls to do it. And yes, that is me deliberately calling out all of those people who are like, but I've only got a shitty little product. So,
well,
anyway, okay,
have a good product instead. That would be a good start.
Yeah, have a good product instead, I know, right? So, okay, so, just one piece or a series of pieces or endless follow-up? What do you recommend?
Very often, clients will come to me and say, I want to send a sales letter. And, I have to have that difficult conversation with them, which is like, look, if you hit an arrow out into the sea, do you think that it would have any, do you think that it's going to hit a fish? Do you honestly think that it's going to have any impact at all? We live in this world where we get so many messages every day, and it's been estimated now that about 5,000 commercial messages hit us in a day.
Wow.
A single message is just going to get lost. I'll tell you the way that I look at this, taking the arrows analogy. If you look at the film Braveheart, or any film that shows you a medieval battle, you'll see that the archers, they're not just all firing their arrows off in different directions. Yeah, they are all firing together in unison. So you get this whole sort of shale of arrows coming out, and people cannot hide. No matter where they run, there is no hiding place. An arrow is going to hit them. Yeah? Now, if you take that principle in marketing that says, wherever you go, we're going to find you. You can't avoid us. We're on your browser. We're showing up in your email, in remarketing adverts, in Facebook. We're on your doorstep. With a postcard, and then a long letter, and then another short letter to say the offer's expiring soon. You've got to be permanently in your customer's line of vision, and not just with, like I say, not just with the one medium, because people respond to different things. Some people would rather read a landing page, some people would rather watch a video, some people want a mail piece in their hand, which feels more trustworthy. But you've got to be everywhere. And you've got to follow up. And again, everybody knows the numbers around this, that they say, it used to be something like 7 to 10 points of contact before somebody would buy. And now I've heard it's got to be 21 to 30 points of contact. Whatever it is, the money is in the follow-up and also in the ubiquity, in just being unavoidable. Yeah, basically, battering them into submission. No, I'm kidding. Not really. It doesn't mean sort of in your face, foot in the door. It just means just always being there, just sort of carping away.
Building a relationship.
Remember me?
Yes. Yeah, and I think it's the only time I would ever recommend doing a one-off, if you're going to do a one-off, is if you've got to go really big. So I'm going to trot out my old favourite of the copywriter that I know, who sent a canoe paddle, FedExed a canoe paddle to a CEO with a note hanging off it saying, "Are you up shit creek?" You could that kind of thing you can just do one off, because it's going to get their attention and they'll either want to work with you or not. But for most normal people, it's going to be a series. So with that then, what's been your most profitable direct mail campaign, James, for one of your clients?
Okay, so that's one I wrote about 5 years ago to sell hearing aids, and it's still running now. I think last count about 1.2 million copies go out into the post every year. So
wow.
it's a 5-step mail sequence. So they came to me saying, look, we've got these letters that have been going out for a while, and they do okay, but we kind of feel that they could do better. So what can you do about it? So we looked at a couple of things. First of all, we looked at the stages of the decision for buying a hearing aid. So we look, it's kind of like, with grief, you've got different stages of sort of, denial and acceptance, self-pity and acceptance and so on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, with accepting that you've got hearing loss, you kind of go through the same stages. You've got fear, you've got misconceptions, you've got denial in there as well. So we looked at those stages in order, and we said, well, let's use that as the sort of anchoring point for the sequence. So we'll have the first letter, we'll deal with the denial aspect and so on. And then we'll stagger those letters over a 9 to 12 months period. And then we will apply some segmentation. So up until that point, everybody had been getting the same letters, okay, regardless of where you lived. So we looked at Experian, which is a demographic segmentation tool. Experian divides everybody into 14 top-level categories, and then there are subcategories within the 14 as well. And it does this by postcode, by address level, not by postcode level. So each individual householder, it can identify as this house is owned by somebody who is type B1 or type D3 or whatever it is. And they give you detailed demographic descriptions of what each of those types of people are. In terms of, what they do for a living, what kind of income they make, what's the family makeup, the sort of newspapers they read, the sort of TV they watch, all these important, how they vote, all these important things that give you an insight into who they are. So we decided to segment at the top level, which is just the 14 main categories. Okay, so we had 5 letters in a sequence, and we rewrote each letter for each category. So we had one generic sequence first, and then we rewrote it. And for each rewrite, we were thinking in terms of what's important to them that makes them, what makes them different from the other categories. So with some, it would be, what does hearing loss mean to them? Yeah, with some, it would be, I want to carry on working for longer. I want to put off my retirement. With some, it would be, I'm retired and active, and I want to still carry on getting that little bit more out of life. I'm in my early 60s, I've got some money. I don't want to sort of lay down and die just yet. I want to enjoy life while I can. With others, it's quality time with the grandchildren. Everybody's got their own fears and their own aspirations when it comes to protecting their hearing. So we would focus it on that, but also we'd think in terms of what does technology mean to them? Do they embrace it? Are they likely to fear it? And also we would look at what's their attitude to being sold to. So a lot of seniors in particular, and it's a generational thing, I think, have this idea that somebody who's trying to sell to them is trying to rip them off. It's a very British thing as well, that. But of a different demographic, people kind of accept, look, that's just how the game is played. You've got to make a sale. Yeah. So we would temper the language to reflect their attitude to being sold to. It would be less salesy for sort of, the older and less affluent set, for example. So, I mean, this sounds a bit theoretical, a bit hypothetical, but it's actually incredibly easy. All I did with this was look at the different groups, the 14 groups, and just found in there somebody that I know. So, for example, I'd look at type H is families that are, I haven't looked at this for a while, but something like this, it might be the wrong one, families that are just about getting by. And type M is older affluent seniors. Again, sort of, don't take me too literally on that, So I thought, well, this type here, this is my family circa 1980. This type here, this is my godparents. This is my auntie. This is my friend Mark, and so on, So all I was doing when it came to adapting the letters, all I was doing was just having a conversation in my head with these people I know. because, you can look at a list of attributes of this group, and that's all theory. You can't engage with them on a human level, write copy that's going to resonate with them by just looking at, these attributes and trying to tick boxes. You've got to take it somewhere where you can apply your own instinct. And that's from the person you know.
Yeah. That's absolutely gold. I'm just going to stop you there for a second because I want everybody listening to write that shit down, because this is the stuff that is really valuable. And most people, they'll get hung up on the whole, it's a 5-step process, it's this, that, and the other. And actually, the most important thing for them to possibly do is exactly what you just said, and get this idea of this person and what they care about and who they are in your head before you ever put anything down on paper. Because all of the other stuff, all of the, the 5-step campaign and all the rest of it is just details and tactics, and until you've done what you've just described there, all of that is going to be useless. So that's kind of what I really want to hammer home, is this groundwork, this research groundwork that you're talking about now is by far the most important thing.
Yes, I would agree. Yeah, it's the avatar. And, you don't have to necessarily segment. You could all be going out to the same demographic. That's fine. But know that demographic. Have that sort of, that intuitive understanding of who the audience is. Yeah.
Absolutely. So that's probably your most profitable direct mail campaign. What's your favourite one, or is it the same one, or is it different? What's the one that was most fun to do?
The most fun would definitely be something to sell a vacuum cleaner. And that's not an exciting sort of product, sort of on the surface. But going back about 7 or 8 years, this was... So that there are sort of regular vacuum cleaners like Hoovers and so on, and then there are the super vacs, the things that will cost you a few £1,000s and have dust mites sort of running for cover. So I was working for one of these, and we wrote a series of letters to new prospects, and we wanted a follow-up letter for the ones who didn't respond. So this idea that I'm about to share with you now, it came from reading Bill Glazer's book, Outrageous Advertising, that's outrageously successful.
I love that one.
It's an incredible book. And actually, I saw Bill giving a presentation at an event where he was sort of talking about the book and showing some of his ideas. And, that night I couldn't get any sleep because all these ideas were rolling through my head. And I was working with these vacuum cleaner guys at the time. And I thought, this idea just came to me. And the principle was, look at the victim of the sale. Look at the person who doesn't want the sale to go ahead. Yeah. So I thought, well, in this case, it's a dust mite. Yeah. The dust mite that lives in your rug doesn't want the sale to go ahead. So what we created was a thank you card from the dust mite. And we called him Dustin. And we sort of wrote for him in a sort of oiky little voice so that in your head he'd sound like Ali G. Yeah. And just said on the front, it says, big thanks for not buying this thing. And then it goes, yo, dude, me and my crew, we's chilling down here in your rug. And, we're stoked that you ain't bought that thing, man, And then it talks about, let me tell you what happened to Ollie, my cousin, right? He got sucked up by this thing, And there's a little reconstruction drawing in there, And the whole thing is just formatted like a card. And then on the back, it's got a picture of the advert sort of sellotaped on and just don't do it written in the scroll by the dust mite. And that was fun. There are some sales letters I've written that have taken me days to write. The longest one I've written is 28 pages, and it took me just over a week to do. This one, I wrote it in half an hour. It was just so easy. When you've got an idea and you think, this one works, the idea just flows. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was fun to write, fun to create, and the whole process, overseeing it, working with the graphic designer, seeing the client's reaction and seeing how it works, it was all just brilliant. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. That's just made me think of something as well, because that does sound like so much fun. And there's two things I kind of want to get people to take away from that. One is that you can do stuff that's seemingly ridiculous because, A, it will get attention, and that's never a bad thing. The second thing is, if you have fun writing it, then chances are the person who's reading it is going to have fun reading it. If you're bored shitless writing something, then for God's sake, don't send it to somebody.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah, that's it entirely. And we tested this on all different kinds of demographics, and it was just universally sort of wow, yeah, this is amazing. So yeah, it's probably it's certainly the one that I had the most fun with, and in its own kind of way, it's the one I'm most proud of as well. Even though it didn't hit at quite the level of the hearing aid stuff, but yeah,
still profitable though, I guess.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, so I just want to finish off with a couple of tips, ideas for people on low budgets. What can people do? Because it's like, okay, so if they've not got like the kind of budget to go with a graphic designer and create that kind of a cool dust mite card, if they can't really afford to at the moment spend a lot on expensive lumpy mail, what kind of ideas could people on low budgets come up with if they want to, because they understand that, if it works, they'll get good ROI and they can pump that back in and all the rest of it. What would you suggest to people who haven't got much cash?
First thing I would do is go through your customer database and find your best customers, or find your best product. And you should find a sort of sweet spot in there of, that here's a group of people who are ripe for me to sell them something. Yeah. So it could be, you look at your best customers and you think, well, none of them have yet had this solution, but I know that they've all got money, so let's make them all a great offer around this product. Or it could be that you've got a product that's new, and you want to sell that to your biggest spenders. There's something in your list. There's a lot of gold in there before you start doing mailing to new prospects. Your customers are a great place to start testing new offers, because they're that much, I don't need to tell you this, they're that much more open to the idea of doing business with you. Yeah. That would
cool.
be a very, very easy starting point,
Cool. Yeah, that's really, really good idea. And it's one that most people, they get so fixated on the idea of new clients that they forget about, like you say, all the gold sitting in their list at the moment, who you've probably not contacted forever. So just drop them a postcard, and you can get postcards from Moo for like pennies each that you can just, get 50 of them printed and drop them in the post.
And postcards are brilliant because they get read. The first challenge in direct mail is actually getting somebody to open the envelope and look at your message. Well, a postcard will always be read. If you put the same message, or effectively the same message, on both sides, reword it a little, perhaps even change orientation. So one side is portrait, one side is landscape. You've got exactly the same sort of offer and call to action on both sides, so that whichever way it lands on the doormat, it's going to be seen. The response to it is fantastic. There are limitations with postcards. If you're selling anything that has a confidential nature, then obviously you can't really let the postman find out about it. If you're selling Viagra or something, or any kind of medical thing, really. But for most businesses, a postcard is a great idea. Yeah, cool. Okay, so where can people find out about you if they want you to write their next direct mail campaign, James? Okay, so they can find me at jamesthecopywriter.co.uk. I do have a free giveaway there on my site, which is I've written a report about how to find a copywriter that would be suitable for you, because different types of copywriter have different strengths. I've found that there's about 6 different types of copywriter, so the report tells you all about that. But yeah, it's all at jamesthecopywriter.co.uk.
Cool, and they can get the report from your homepage, can they?
Yes, they can. Yeah, it's just they're glaring at you from on the right hand side.
Cool, and I strongly recommend getting a copy of James's book, Do You Talk Like That at Home, as well, because it's very good. It's very good.
Yes, I echo that recommendation. Yeah, definitely. Get hold of that. Thank you. Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you really very much for that, James. That's been really interesting. I know that everybody will have found that enjoyable and entertaining, and I hope that people will take some action on it. Next week, I will be back with lovely Jo, and we will be talking about how you keep yourself poor, because I always like a good old rant. So thanks again, James. Really appreciate it. Everybody who's listening, thanks for tuning in. Be good. If you can't be good, don't get caught. And we'll be back same time next week.
Like what you've just heard? Tell your colleagues, tell your friends, send them to www.businessforsuperheroes.com/podcast.